All right. Test, test,
Test.
test, test.
Coming on back. Look, we're gonna come back with all of the convincing idiots here. We're coming back in 5, baby, and we're coming back in 4, baby, and we're coming back in 3, and then now in 2.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.
Syphilis.
Are we good? Syphilis. And we are back for segment 3 of Convincing Idiots. Ladies and gentlemen, you came from far and wide. You spent your hard-earned money to be here tonight. And now we present to you the conclusion of our Convincing Idiots Battle of the Bands. To briefly give you a synopsis of what we've been doing so far. A couple episodes ago, we started our Battle of the Bands. We each submitted, 5 bands of our choosing.
5, and there was one floating that we all agreed to.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So varying degrees of why we picked them, various criteria. If you have not heard the prior segments, you may want to go listen to segment 3 of the last 2 weeks to get you caught up on how we got here. But without further ado, we are now reaching our semifinals, finals, and then finally a championship matchup for our Battle of the Bands. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the keeper of the bracket, none other than the American Dream himself, Dusty Dean, the Zennial. Please,
ladies and
Dusty
gentlemen,
Dean,
thank you for bringing us. The Dusty Dean is the American Dream, and he is bringing you the brackets. He is bringing you everything you want, baby. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
baby.
There's only so much you can keep that up and read this. Okay, so I'm actually going to run through this, if you guys don't mind, very briefly. What on the first side, we had AC/DC against the Beatles. The Beatles moved on. Then we had the Soundgarden against Queen. And then Queen moved on. Aerosmith and the Who. Aerosmith moved on. Metallica and Led Zeppelin. Metallica moved on. And then we had Rolling Stones against the Foo Fighters. Rolling Stones moved on. Fleetwood Mac against Tool. Very interesting conversation. Tool moved on. Iron Maiden and Rush. Iron Maiden moved on. And then Guns N' Roses and Eagles. Probably our best and toughest discussion. But Guns N' Roses ultimately moved on. So this next round, these semifinals, we're going to start. I won't go through the thing. I just went through, all of the first rounds. So I'm going to go this, starting what we're going to discuss right now, the Beatles against Queen. In my opinion, this might be the hardest choice of the whole bracket, this round right here. So Beatles against Queen. Let's start with Nick, because I don't really know Nick's opinion on either band, other than what we've heard in past shows. So, yeah, Nicholas.
So, like I said in past episodes, we're kind of going to go through this relatively quickly because we've already, at some degree, we've discussed our vague opinions.
The band.
On each episode. So, there's 2 minds that I'm going to go into every single one of these matchups with, and it's almost a kind of inner battle of which one will prevail. There's one in my head that I'll have as the legacy pick. This is the one that I feel should win or would win or whatever. And there's the other one, which one do I like more and why? Simply put, the Beatles are the legacy pick. This is a perfect example. They are commonly referred to as, if not one of the greatest bands of all time. They've influenced countless bands. They're legendary is honestly putting it mildly. So the Beatles are the legacy pick. However, Queen is one that sonically, when it hits my ears, musically is much more impressive to me. just from a musicianship standpoint, which I'm not. I mean, but I'm just saying when I hear the music,
You are a
I
ninja,
am
though.
more. I am. That's right. I am, as you have seen. Yes,
Oh, we
I
got
am a ninja.
Nick Titties again. Look at that, everybody.
So yeah, I comes down to which one do I enjoy more, basically. So that's kind of where my thoughts are. Do you want me to give you my pick, or are we gonna discuss?
No,
Or
we'll discuss and then we'll
okay.
go back around real
So
quick.
yes, I feel the Beatles are kind of the legacy pick. That's the one that should win. But when I listen to the Beatles songs and I listen to Queen's songs, I am more impressed with what I am hearing when I listen to Queen, both vocally and certainly vocally, and from a musicianship standpoint. Brian May on the guitar is just incredible and all-time great. And but again, different styles of music, different times. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, would there be a Queen without the Beatles? I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's tough. So, Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's one of the first things that popped in my head too. Was like, there's really not much of a comparison vocally between Freddie Mercury and
anybody.
a lot of people. Frankly,
Right.
most rock vocalists. I mean, he's up there on the Mount Rushmore of rock vocalists. I think we did that in another episode, by the way. Anyway,
I believe we did.
Yeah, and he's definitely up there. So, but again, for me, I look at I'm with. I tend to agree a lot with what you're saying, Nick. Is when I sit down to want to hear the best of Queen or the best of the Beatles, it kind of depends on your mood a little bit here. Definitely, if I want to hear more of a sonically powerful music and more of a rocking music, I'm probably going to put Queen on. But if I want to hear something that's more, I don't know, more relaxing.
It's catchy. It's got good hooks. It's more.
Yeah,
it's really of
absolutely.
a pop of the. I mean, really, certainly as when they started out. Very. What I guess what we would consider today as being more of a pop type, approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly Brian May is a great guitarist and everything. The Beatles, certainly, I don't know, they're just super influential. The songwriting talents are up against any band in history, probably. But all things considered, between the lyrics and everything, and just how they were able to transcend and evolve, really, makes the Beatles that much more, competitive. And again, like I said, just the influence overall. So it's interesting. It's a tough debate here. So, Dean, what do you think?
All right. So, like you said, Brian, before you, Nick, both of you are right. Musically, the Queen has much wider range. They are much better and more talented musicians, right? But my argument for
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, as in the
Just
different
impressing you
riffs,
with the yes,
impressiveness of like
showmanship.
Right.
Sure.
Showmanship. There you go. But my argument for the Beatles is actually, I thought of it as from what Nick was saying, was like, it depends on what mood you're in. The Beatles, they weren't around, honestly, as long as many people would probably think. But the time that they went from the 50s to like the 60s. They broke up, 69, 70, something like that, right?
Nice.
So
The sex number.
But no, I got it. So, but what they did in all of those albums, they gave you so many different variations of themselves. They evolved with time and learning who they were as musicians, given from like the original Ed Sullivan Beatles to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Clubs. The Beatles, you could find a mood that you're in and find a Beatles song to match it.
Yeah, that's true.
Queen is amazing and is as groundbreaking as they are. They are Queen. They had that one sound, which is just dynamic, stadium-driven rock amazingness.
Yeah.
For
Theatrical.
lack of fucking better words. Theatrical. Just, I mean, I love Queen. I mean, they're lyrically, vocally, musically, Queen is like the top echelon of like rock bands. So, you know, given both those ideas, it's not an easy choice for me. So let's get into the voting now.
By the way,
For-
Beatles broke up at 74, Dean. I just looked it up there.
74. Okay.
Yep.
That's not a sex number.
It could be.
Well, it depends on where your thumb is.
It's true.
So
I've come up with a lot of new ones. We'll discuss that on another episode. But anyway,
Well, you use your toe that one time. So let's start with
that's the end of the 7. Oh, sorry.
Brian, let's what say you? Let's start the voting.
You know, you have a very interesting comment there when you said that there, if whatever your mood is, there's a Beatles song that kind of matches it. That's a very that's very intriguing. So that's
Well, I'm very smart.
Well, but you're right. If I'm just in a good mood, I don't want to hear anything too complicated. I can go back and listen to the early Beatles. I want to hold your hand and all that stuff. It's just very nice, easy, early pop music. It's just fun. It's hard to be in a bad mood listening to early Beatles, and then they certainly got into more complex songs and deeper lyrics and everything else there. My dad was a huge Beatles fan, as you know, so I grew up with Beatles playing in the house all the time. I used to play the Sgt. Pepper album constantly. That was when I played that over and over again, and even doing homework. I just, anyway, so Beatles definitely resonates with me big time here. So, okay, hard decision. All things considered, overall influence and the library and lyrics, and you know, your comment there, you know, it really takes it to the level for me, Dean. I'm going to go with the Beatles to overtake Queen narrowly, in my opinion. There you have it.
All right. Beatles is marked down for Brian. Nicholas, what do you got?
Yes. So, like I said, of two minds. In my head, if I'm, you know, in my head when I'm doing this bracket would probably come down to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones is probably what it should be in my head, based on when you think of a all-time rock band battle bracket.
Sure.
However, so I've got the legacy pick, and then I've got who musically impresses me more. Against the lesser band, I might feel more pressured to pick the Beatles, but I don't feel that it's unjust to go with Queen. And I'm just going to go with who impresses me more on a musical standpoint, and I'm going to cast my vote for Queen.
Whoa.
So, Dean, you are the tiebreaker.
I am the tiebreaker. Before we started this bracket, you know, when I drew them out of the hat, I figured I knew who I had, you know, in these battles. But as we're talking about it tonight, giving on influence and substance and you can't even say the word talent, because shit, all of these people that we picked have talent to be a great band, and
Sure.
all of these people are somebody's favorite band.
Sure.
So it really comes down to influence. Maybe it comes down to what they put in, and I know I'm rambling because I'm actually still trying to decide. You know what? I'm going my gut instinct. God damn it! I didn't think it would be, but the Beatles are passing Queen here tonight.
All right, there we go. The
I'm
Beatles
going
have
for the
moved on.
Beatles.
That's fair.
All right,
You know what? My favorite thing about the Beatles probably is in the spirit of moving on. Is if they were around today and still a band today, the types of things that they would be making, the types of things that they would be doing,
it would be insane.
but like in the spirit of moving on, they would probably be getting from show to show on an electric bike. That's how they would be choosing to move on. And their choice as an all-time great band would probably be to go with an all-time great electric bike dealer. And of course, you need look no further than Carrollton, Ohio, which is the home of our friends at RPM Bike Shop. If you don't believe me, Go to that Facebook search bar, type in RPM Bike Shop, see them for yourselves. You can also go to their website, rpmbikeshop.com. Check out all the wonderful products they have to offer you. You can also give them a call, maybe talk about some pricing, talk about when you might be able to stop out, maybe take one for a test drive, sit on one, feel that seat beneath your buttocks. Give them a call at 330-808-7792 and talk to them today about forging your own pathway into an all-time great environmentalist, an all-time great electric bike rider with RPM Bike Shop.
Well done, sir.
Very good.
John Lennon would want you to. If John Lennon were here today, he would tell you to call them. That's right.
Very good.
He would say, imagine. Imagine there's no
Keep going.
pedaling.
You already ran into it.
Imagine only you. Imagine it's just you and the road and the power of electricity beneath you. That's what he'd say. He might
He'd probably
sing it to
rhyme
you,
more, but you know.
Probably, but you know, he's not fucking here, is he? So that's what we've got.
All right, so moving on, our next battle, ladies and gentlemen, is Aerosmith against Metallica.
Okay, this is good.
This seems like since I'm babbling, I'm gonna just knock it out of the way. These two bands seem like the same horse, just a different color.
I was just going to say that. This harkens to our other one with that we were like, well, they're kind of the same thing, but different genres, like Guns N' Roses and Zeppelin,
they're
was it?
known by many, right?
Yep.
They're loved by their fans are rabid.
Yeah.
And even their fans have chastised them for changing suit mid-course, right?
Two bands that have definitely not only just rested on the laurels of their hits, they have changed through the decades. They have adapted to the way the rock genres have gone. They've made a variation of different styles of music, all while staying relatively true to
themselves.
What they do. Yes.
Yeah.
Aerosmith changed the game with the Run DMC Walk This Way, song. Metallica, changed the game with, just kind of being that first metal band that went not public, but mainstream.
Yeah, it got real successful, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So both are just, I honestly, until you gentlemen convince me.
I want to hear what Brian says, because I'm the same kind of mind as you.
I'm not chosen yet. So Brian.
No, everything you said is correct. I mean, and both bands certainly had their own struggles as well. If you want to get into the more personal aspects of it, I mean, some bands they struggle with some addiction issues, and they had to fight their way through it. And the band members, James Hetfield notably, and then certainly Steven Tyler. I mean, they fought through that, and they persevered. Like you said, both bands evolved. Metallica continues to put out new music to this day. New albums coming out soon. I'll just add this quick sidebar, by the way. Metallica was on Howard Stern this week. Fantastic. They played. The interview was phenomenal. It's not going to impact my decision here.
Was it electric or acoustic?
They played mainly electric. They did one acoustic version of Battery, which was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you have the Sirius XM app, you can listen to this on Howard Stern. You definitely go check it out and listen to it today. Phenomenal. You have different levels of respect for these guys. They really know what they're talking about musically and everything else. Anyway, it's for me, Aerosmith is solid rock band, great music. Again, they definitely adapted to change their sound in the 80s to, they had a whole resurgence, which lasted for many years, right? Metallica, certainly very, for me, the edge is going to be, I like Metallica music better personally. And I think in their realm of music, I tend to think they're more of a a pioneer and more influential in that for what they were putting out there in the thrash metal and hard rock. You know, again, Aerosmith, very solid band. There's definitely people that I'm sure that were influenced by Aerosmith music. Joe Perry is one of the greatest rock guitarists, period, no question. Steven Tyler, fantastic vocalist, one of the greatest of all time, certainly. But again, look at overall Metallica. So to me, that's where it's more of a struggle for me to say that Aerosmith is better than Metallica. But it's still it's definitely a tough debate. Nick, what do you think?
I don't have much to add other than what you guys have said.
All right,
already.
moving on.
So yeah, I mean, I'm ready to cast votes. I think because I really all the things you both have said. I'm like I could have said.
What are you struggling with? Because you stuttered on you're ready to cast your vote. Well, give us the little thing that you're struggling with.
I don't think I'm struggling with anything. I think I know who I'm going to pick, and I'll explain it. I mean, if you're ready to cast my vote,
go for it.
So
then you go first. Then
yeah, I love again both incredible bands. I think Aerosmith has had more versatility through the years as changing through 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s and staying relevant, which I think in and of itself is quite the feat. Metallica, like you said, Brian, pioneers when it comes to, thrash metal. I mean, heavy metal heavy metal is very subjective, but in the way that I perceive metal today,
sure.
Metallica in many respects, if I would say like Black Sabbath is the Beatles, then Metallica is like
the
Queen. You know what I mean, or something. They're like they're like a more modern day, an amplified version of the base layer that was set. I am personally a bigger fan of Aerosmith. I would rather listen to Aerosmith, but I think I'm picking Metallica because of again. We're going with legacy and the impact. As much as I love Aerosmith and I admire what they've done through the years, Metallica has probably been more of a foundation for a lot of other bands, as well as musically, they are more impressive. And this could be my bias towards like heavy music, but like you give me any metal band over your classic rock bands, and the metal band's going to win every fucking time because they're just always more impressive musically for me. So even though I do love Aerosmith, and if you stack both of their catalogs in front of me, I'm going to pick out more Aerosmith stuff that I have liked than Metallica. But Metallica, I'm going to pick Metallica. I think Metallica should win. Metallica is my vote.
Dean?
All right. So I wrote down my pick before Nick started talking, and because same as what he had, if like on a daily basis, you go, who you want to listen to? I'm not like hardcore, metal.
I never would have got that from your Tommy Bahama shirt. That's weird that you said that because that's not what I would have thought. No, I'm just kidding.
but I do love fucking Metallica. Like I said in the last episode, is they hold a very special place in my heart of like turning me on to like way different music than I was used to and loving it. Mm-hmm. But the idea of what Aerosmith has done, what they have contributed to, what the adaptation that they have gone through, I'm going with Aerosmith.
Yeah. Well, we have another tie on our hands. So, Brian, the breaker, it is up to you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you both raised good points, and certainly Aerosmith they were smart to continue to evolve and cater to the decade that they were in. They definitely were able to extend their popularity and a career for several years. They were smart enough to do that. Metallica has too, though. So Metallica certainly, the first three albums are super, super heavy and fast. and they continue to get more elaborate over the, they got to get into Justice for All and other stuff. And then they were smart enough to step back and say, hey, if we want to take these things to another level, we got to try to simplify things if we want to get more video play, airplay, and just for ourselves to be able to go out and play songs that are less than 8, 9, 10 minutes at a time in concert, etc. So they were smart enough to continue to evolve as well. So it's not just a preference thing for me in what I would prefer to listen to, but I honestly think that I want to give the edge to Metallica here, just from the overall influence in their genre and their complete catalog of work and just the musical talent overall, I think is super impressive.
All right, there you have it.
Metallica moves on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Metallica moves on.
God damn it. You're not the keeper of the bracket.
I got one job. All right, going on to the next round. Actually, the opposite side. We're going real quick to Rolling Stones against Tool. I think this is going to be more entertaining than you'd think.
Ooh.
Rolling Stones against Tool. Let's actually, because Nick doesn't seem like he's any way able to talk. Brian, start with you. Give your argument.
It's not really fair with me because again, I'm not as familiar as I said last week.
Did you at least listen to the song that I sent you?
I did, and I am familiar with that song.
Okay.
It was Schism, right, by Tool.
Yes. Yeah. Let's say
Very
if there's
good
one
song.
It's got to be that one, I would think.
Yeah, very very good
sober.
song. Yeah. The musically, vocally, terrific song. The Stones, again, obviously, just similar to the Beatles in many respects, in just the super extensive library. And these guys, again, they continue. They experimented. They had different sounds. They had blues. They had rock. Just the longevity of them, and they continue to tour to this day. And it's really pretty, fascinating. So. I don't know. So for me, it's not going to be a whole lot of competition personally, just from the overall, like I said, legacy and again, I'm just not as familiar with Tool, so that they have a disadvantage from my opinion. So Nick, what do you think?
So this is such a struggle because I already outlined my two criteria, right? The one that I'm musically, I either think are better musicians, the other one's it's the legacy pick. These are the exact polar. Mm-hmm. One is so legacy and the other is so much more musically impressive. It's just wild. Like there's no middle ground. They don't bleed in together at all. Like it's just the Rolling Stones should win. They're one of the greatest bands ever because everybody says they are, and they're fantastic. But Tool is so musically impressive that I would only second them to Rush in my opinion. So it's just like there's one that is so musically orgasmic and then there's one that is just so legendary. What do you do with that? I don't know how to base that. So, Dean, you talk now.
Fuck you. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. No, this. I'm sitting there staring at both fucking names. Just, I don't know. We're getting on to the deal there.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to do this because I don't want it to be on me. I don't. I'm going to say Tool. Tool's my vote because I picked them. And they're the most impressive musically.
You know me too well.
I think they're incredible musicians, and I don't want that on me because I don't know that I even feel that they should win. That way, if I in my heart of hearts, if I'm being completely genuine, it's nothing against Rolling Stones. I understand they're one of the greatest bands of all time, but I've never heard anything from the Rolling Stones like that has come on the same stratosphere that impresses me like Tool does. So that's just me. I don't say that it's right. That's just my pick, and it's on you. I don't care. Let's just go.
All right.
I don't want it on me.
So we have Nick's vote. Rolling Stones and Tool, like you guys both said. Me going third, it helped because I don't have to say much. You both said it all. Rolling Stones is iconic, and they are the echelon. They are the comparison to other bands. Like if you argue any band and you go, oh, is it the Stones or the Beatles? You are like the icon, right?
Yeah. Whoever your favorite band is, they talk
Right.
about the Rolling Stones. Like they're
Right.
like they love the like everybody.
And they're still going, but like Nick
Tool
said,
would probably be like Rolling Stones.
yeah, but like if you took the centuries and divided them, and like you didn't know this century happened, the Tool might be up there, right?
Sure.
In
yeah.
that
Oh,
in that
absolutely.
bracket, like
In a
if you
'90s
right, if you
centric.
section each decade out and didn't know anything about the other decades, what band would be that, Rolling Stones or the Beatles, right? But like musically and lyrically, Tool is just phenomenal. It's innovative. But again, back in the day, back in the 1960s, so was the Rolling Stones.
Sure.
Mhm.
I'm going. Have we started voting?
Yes.
Yeah, you're the decision maker. Whoever you pick wins.
Oy vey. Fuck. You know what? I'm going my gut instinct. I'm going to Rolling Stones. All right.
There you go. It's fair. That is
Tool
fine.
is innovative and brilliant, but the Rolling Stones, God damn it, are the Rolling Stones.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
All
It's
right.
not shocking. It's fair. That's good.
No,
It's
that's-
not,
yeah.
but like
Honestly, if you pick Tool, I just didn't want because I'm like, if the upset of the century happens, I don't want to be because of me. Because I feel
Right.
it's not like it's not
But I
that
tell
either
you,
one
I was
doesn't.
very
You know what I mean?
close.
It's just
like
yeah,
I was
like,
literally a sentence away. Like I didn't know until like that sentence came out of my fucking head.
right.
All right, so moving on to the last part of the semifinals, Iron Maiden against Guns N' Roses.
Mm.
Yep. It's a
So
good one.
I know that this is going to be harder for you two, so I'm going to start with Nick on this
Okay.
one.
So like we've discussed, both incredible bands, musicianship. Like I said, you put me up with the heavier band, a little more flair on the. I mean, it's fair to say flair. Like it's hard. It's fucking Slash and Guns N' Roses, but typically the more metal-based bands are a little more. Ooh, that's the shiny toy for me. So, I certainly am a bigger Iron Maiden fan. Musically, God, they're both great bands. I enjoy Iron Maiden more. But ugh.
Is that
The
your-
more I think about it, yeah, that's my official
right.
statement. Blah.
All right.
Jesus, man. I have no problem saying that I think Iron Maiden holds the better vocals. As much as Axl Rose is his voice, it's like Geddy Lee when we were talking about Rush. Whether you like his voice or you don't,
Sure.
it is an acquired taste, but you can't deny that there is power there, and whether it's for your ears or it's not, which, on a lot of songs, he's just great for that time. He fits that time and that attitude and the era and what they were doing.
Sure.
But as far as what's more pleasant for me to hear sing a song, both high and low ranges, Bruce Dickinson would be my pick as well.
Sure.
So man, it's tough. It is tough, but I think I've definitely leaning towards Iron Maiden. I think Iron Maiden would be my official pick. There again, just their catalog they wow me a little bit more. And at the end of the day, as much as I try to take in everything into account as we're doing these, I'm always going to place, if everything's worth a point, the musicianship is worth like a point and a half. You know what I mean? It's just a little.
Sure.
It carries a little more weight for me, and it sounds silly to say that a band that is going up against the band that has Slash in it, I am more impressed musically with. However, just like I said, that's just kind of the way that my bias leans and the type of music that I like. And typically, a band like Iron Maiden is just, I don't know. I think I'd have to pick Iron Maiden. So, Brian, over to you, sir.
Yeah, a lot of things you said are I agree with. I mean, I like Guns N' Roses. I was said last week, Appetite for Destruction. I put that whole album up against many rock albums. Period. For me, Guns N' Roses is that album, and maybe three or four other songs, give or take, something like that. Now that's maybe on me. Maybe I need to listen to more of the complete albums again of the Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. I mean, there's definitely good stuff in there, no question about it. But like you said, Iron Maiden, individual talent of every guy in the band, is to me, it's just a different level, and I could sit down and listen to several hours of Iron Maiden music, and it's going to be different. And to me, if I'm in this listening to Iron Maiden is more. Guns N' Roses is fun. It's a moment. It's fun. It's cool. Iron Maiden is more of an experience listening to. Right. I've seen both bands live as well. I mean, I didn't see the full version of Guns N' Roses, so it's a little bit different here. But I have seen Iron Maiden live, and again, it's an experience to listen to them musically and visually and everything else here. So to me, this is going to be probably a fairly easy pick between these two bands. So, Dean, what do you think?
All right. My argument's going to be quick, and I'm going to get to my vote. I don't know, honestly, that much about Iron Maiden. But I know what I know about Guns N' Roses, what they meant to me musically in my life, and what I experienced with them was a lot. But I mean, I respect your guys' arguments, but I don't know Iron Maiden that much. So, I mean, it makes me want to like go out and seek out and listen to Iron Maiden. But as of this moment, I don't know Iron Maiden that much. So that's my argument, and I'm going to start the voting, and I'm going to go with Guns N' Roses.
Okay. Nick?
Nick?
Iron Maiden is my official pick. So, Brian, you are the tiebreaker.
Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
On my
Iron
shirt.
Maiden, there we go.
There we go.
Dean, we're gonna sit around. I would enjoy the three of us at least. Whoever else wishes to join, and sit around a fire or something and listen
Nick
to some
doesn't like
Iron
hanging
Maiden.
out with us, but like you and I can do it.
Well, if Iron Maiden's never been involved before.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna do
that's
that.
all it takes.
We're gonna do that.
It's a musical
cigar,
thing. I'd probably be there. Yeah.
Little cigar, a little bourbon, and other.
There we
that'd
go.
Be great.
I
No,
like
you
this.
can't. No.
Wonderful.
No. Not with Iron Maiden. You drink cheap ass beer and smoke darts, man. There's no.
Fair enough.
No. Iron Maiden is not. No.
Yeah,
It's not whiskey.
We
and
do.
cigars.
We do fucking Budweiser and Marlboro Reds.
Yeah, you listen
That's
to the
fine.
Rat Pack with your whiskey and cigars, not Iron Maiden.
Actually, the Iron Maiden has a beer. Even maybe we'll find that.
They do.
Yeah,
I've
the
seen
Trooper, right? Is it called
Yeah.
the Trooper, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Something like
Yeah.
that.
All right, boys. Are we continuing tonight? Because we have the semi. I don't know what the fuck you.
Let's
call
knock it out because hockey playoffs are starting next week, and I don't know if I'll be here or not. So let's just fucking roll that.
All right. So, all right. We're going to do this one, and then we're.
I mean,
gonna
if that's
take a
cool with
break.
you guys, I'm not I shouldn't be the executive decision maker, but
It's 11. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm okay if you guys are okay.
Actually, Nick, it's up to you because you're the
well,
one
that's what I'm
has to
saying.
pick
I
up.
don't. Yes, right, yeah. So let's do it. Let's roll with it.
I got to make pee sometimes, so
Okay.
we can continue with this and go start with back on the other side. Let me show YouTube. I don't know.
That doesn't help for people
camera.
listening.
It doesn't. Fuck them. All right. Beatles against Metallica.
Ooh.
That is the next round. And we're going to start giving on the exasperation of Brian. Brian, you're going to start. Argue the Beatles against Metallica.
Like we said in even one of the quotes in a prior episode was like the Metallica is sort of like the Beatles in some respects of our generation. Maybe it was Led Zeppelin. That's what he said. Maybe they're credit. Anyways, both super influential in their generation, certainly for different reasons and the different types of music that they put out there. Man, this is a tough one. Man, because both, yeah, it's going to be very difficult. I have to think about this one for a minute because, again, like I said, just both bands have argument with extensive catalog of music. Both bands definitely evolved over time. They experimented with different things in, sounds of music, acoustics, whatever. I mean, this is a very difficult. Musically, certainly, all the guys in each band are very talented. Vocally, man, it's tough. It's a tough one here. Nick, what do you think?
So, this is so dumb to say out loud. Like,
well,
the Beatles.
It's okay. Most things you say.
I know, but this might be one of the dumbest.
I'm interested.
The Beatles are not an indie band, right? They're pretty popular. I just don't think I've heard enough of the Beatles. I don't. I know the Beatles. I know the Beatles music from across the universe. I don't know them. I don't know anyone who's ever listened. I just don't. I've never been around it. I've never been around their music. I know who they are because of who they are.
Your wife is a huge fan.
She doesn't listen to them. Like I mean, maybe she does in headphones or in her car by herself, but it's not like I hear it around the house. Like, you know what I mean? So I almost feel like at a certain point, because
she's way too into like listening to like the random voices in her own head.
The Beatles songs that I've heard, like that's my whole thing. Like, I've never really understood the thing with the Beatles, really, because like I feel like it's like you had to be there, or like it was because of when it happened. And I say that because the thing that I struggle with is I understand the Beatles are one of the greatest bands of all time, widely considered to be, so on and so forth. I've never heard a Beatles song that musically I've been like, that is impressive. You know what I mean? And I don't say that to like, I'm not trying to shit on them. I'm not trying to disparage them. I've never heard a Beatles song that I go, wow. Like listen to that musically. Like, wow. It's all very like, dude, it's catchy. And it's, like.
Have you heard their later stuff?
Probably not. I don't know what I've heard. Okay. I've heard what's in Across the Universe, and I've heard like the big songs, but I don't know. Like, probably not. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
So it sucks because like I feel like I'm, like you guys said, like Brian was talking about with Tool and stuff, or you were saying with Iron Maiden. It's like, yeah, obviously I'm not a fucking idiot. I know who the Beatles are, but like,
right.
I don't know the Beatles music. Not really. I know like the stuff I would see. Remember, there used to be a greatest hits compilation of the Beatles that would come across the screen late at night.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, including these songs. And it would, the little ones that were highlighted in yellow are the ones that were playing when it passed by. I know those songs, and I know the songs that are in Across the Universe. Now, watching Across the Universe made me appreciate the songwriting tremendously, because if you haven't seen that movie, go fucking watch it. It's incredible.
So
and the
amazing.
vocal talents in there are fantastic, and the storytelling is great, and it's a beautifully done movie. So that definitely made me appreciate, from a writing perspective, the Beatles.
TV Carpio singing I Want to Hold Your Hand. I've honestly never wanted to masturbate to a song until I heard her sing that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, Evan Rachel Wood singing Blackbird is just amazing.
Beautiful.
Like, I love that song. But I heard the Beatles version of it, and I was like, I don't like that one. I like the bird actually tweeting in it. It's very odd. Like, I don't know.
Actually, but I want to apologize. My grandmother sung me Frosty the Snowman, so I have to take back my previous comment. Nick, go ahead.
I don't know how to do that. I'm gonna try to. So yeah, Beatles, man. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things that, like, my skin crawls as I say it, because I feel like it's so musically sacrilegious to be like, there's this like thing that like it's the Beatles and the Stones and they're the best, and so like there's a part of me that like feels like based on merit, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I'm not like, if you, Metallica just like really wows me with what they do with their instruments. They're so talented. So I feel like it's not even fair, because I feel like I should pick the Beatles. I feel like everyone should pick the Beatles because it's the Beatles, but I don't even know why. Like, so I don't know. So I don't know. You guys talk. You know them both. You talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Well, Nick's argument went 78 minutes. So Brian,
shut up.
See,
God.
What are you reaching in there for?
A beer, because you're pissing. I need to drink to deal with your shit.
You talk about the factors. You talk about the the talent of the band,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? You talk about the influence. You talk about the library of work, right?
Mhm.
And then you could also get into lyrics, and
Sure.
in their own way, each of those bands are super talented. Both those bands are, no question about it. I've seen, there's like that Disney special of the Beatles where it's just amazing. They sit down and they just start writing a song right on the fly. I know Metallica's done that as well. You start noodling around. Their minds operate that way. There's guys in both bands where their minds operate to where they're just geniuses in their own right, as far as they can come up with something quickly, and it's just amazing. So both bands are certainly amazing and influential. Both bands certainly had longevity, but you step back, the Beatles obviously flamed out after so many years. Metallica continues to. Metallica's been around since the early '80s.
Sure.
They lost members. They had a tragic death in the band, and they continue to persevere, and they decided to stick together and go through it. So, to me, that says something there as well. So, all things considered, I'm not saying we shocked the world necessarily. I'm going to give the edge to Metallica. How about that?
That is something, since we're not voting yet. So I'm going
there you
to
go.
Brian said, "Now we fucking are." There you go. Thrash metal waits for no one's permission to vote.
All right,
that's
There
right.
you go. How about that?
That's right. Well, I'm going for it.
So mine will be very quick. The Beatles and Metallica, again, like you guys said, are same band on a different side of the coin, right? They are generations apart, but they have the same influence on their fans as each other. The Beatles a little more, but they also, it's kind of one of those ideas of like TV, what was more popular, but like when MASH was on, when the MASH finale happened, there was only 3 channels. So of course everybody in America watched.
Mm-hmm.
If it would happen today, they wouldn't have that, reach. It's kind of the same deal. And yes, granted, I understand that they're different genres. You're not going to have the same Metallica fan as the Beatle fan in general. But like me, I am that in between where like I'm a huge fan of both. Both of them are just equally, not equally. Beatles are more iconic, just given time frame.
The Beatles are arguably the most iconic band ever.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
So,
I think it's fair to say.
It's fair to say. So it's
again,
unfair to put that argument in here.
Yep.
Brian, did you just say depending on when you grew up?
I think it depends I think it depends when you grew up. I think certainly if there's anybody.
Well, in my household, certainly Metallica was more iconic in my house.
But look at Brian's household.
The world, you know what I mean? Pop culture in general, it's, well, right.
Yeah, Brian's household, his dad was a huge fan, and he grew up with Metallica. So, I mean, it's a weird stance. But both bands are deserving to move on. This isn't a home run for me. So there's my agreement. Brian, you said
I'm edging Metallica here.
Nick,
I want you to vote because I don't know. Or do you want me to vote because you don't know?
No, I'll go.
Okay. I think I know.
Gut instinct. I'm going Beatles.
Okay. Well, I got out of making the difficult decision with the fucking Rolling Stones.
Look at you, all smart and centered it on.
But now it's on me. So, shit, man. Honestly, If I were to pick the Beatles, it would be out of soul pressure that I feel that I should. But I don't love that I feel like I'm edging out one of the greatest bands in the world just because maybe I'm not as familiar with other than 20 songs or whatever. But off of my own experience, I don't know how because like I said, if I'm judging on categories, the musical wow factor to me is worth a little more of a point, so I'd have to pick Metallica, which I feel like is so wrong. But
That's right.
You know what would be cool? Like it would bring me a little comfort if I went and listened to I'm gonna have a Beatles day tomorrow after I get done with all the podcasts I listen to. I'm gonna listen to the Beatles on shuffle all fucking day and just see what happens, and then maybe
Nick,
come back and be like, "What the fuck did I do?"
and
Or just be like,
do
"Okay,
me a
it was
favor.
do
me a favor. Listen to the later Beatles when you got a little jazz cabbage.
Okay,
it's appreciated more.
Okay.
I Am the Walrus on some jazz cabbage.
Okay.
You get it.
Okay.
All right. But either
And
way,
also, before we move off of this, if everyone could do me a favor and not mention to Robin that I was the decider in having a band that she thoroughly hates beat one of her favorite of all time, that'd be great.
To be the decider. All right. So
Metallica's moving on.
The Beatles and Metallica moves on.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I think it is. Are Metallica not the Beatles of in their own right of their little section of the umbrella?
Yeah, we're not saying AC/DC or Guns N' Roses knocked off the Beatles. You know, right? Sabbath should have been in this argument, by the way.
So Metallica is in the finals.
Yeah.
Okay. Metallica's
how do I have Black Sabbath in this anyway? That's stupid on our part. Anyway, go ahead.
Well,
they definitely deserve to be there before AC/DC. God damn it.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
Actually, very true.
Anyways.
So, but we're all idiots. We didn't choose them. Coming up next, Rolling Stones against Iron Maiden.
Oof.
We are going to. You guys are going to take a real hard look at yourselves and your thought process. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
We're going to come back, and we should have all of our whole thoughts comprised and ready to talk about and vote.
All right, welcome back to Convincing Idiots. Before the
Hour
break,
number 5.
Yes, that's right. Rock band battle bracket. That's right. Yeah. So before the break, we posed a very big question here of Iron Maiden versus the Rolling Stones. Big one here. Similar to the last argument. We have Metallica versus the Beatles. I guess I'll just keep talking. So it's the same type of thought process. No, I'm just serious. It's the same type of thought
I was like, shit,
process.
was I supposed to jump on something?
I don't really want to hear you guys, so I'll go.
No, but again, you're talking about the influence in their genre. Certainly two different types of rock music, hard rock metal versus the more, just straight rock and roll band. Musically talented. I mean, it's hard to argue a lot of. I mean, from a sheer talent perspective, a lot of bands just don't. Person by person, don't match up too well against Iron Maiden, in my opinion. From just who could play the drums better, who could play guitar better, who could play the bass better, who could sing better. Iron Maiden is a strong contender in many respects from a sheer talent perspective. Both bands obviously have extensive libraries. Both bands have evolved. Man, this is a tough one here too. So I don't know, Nick. What do you think?
This is tough because this is the exact same conversation we just fucking had for me.
Yeah.
not quite to the extent. Like, I mean, the Rolling Stones are certainly the easy legacy pick. They are widely considered one of the best bands, if not the best. Them and the Beatles. Stones are Beatles. Stones are Beatles. You hear it all the time. One of the greatest bands of all time. It's not quite the same for the Beatles. Like, I have heard. I've heard more of a diverse collection of Rolling Stones songs, and while it's not necessarily like my thing, or I don't ever sit there and turn on Apple Music and listen to the Rolling Stones, like when they're on the radio, like I'm like, okay, I hear a lot of different things going on. I know a lot of their songs. They are impressive, especially for the time and the era that they were out. But mirroring what you said, Iron Maiden is a tough go for me personally, for anybody to go up against. Very musically impressive when you really listen to it, and what all those guys are doing, what tacticians they are on their specific instruments. So there again, I feel like I'm like, well, I should pick the Rolling Stones, but is it fair to when I just pick Metallica over the Beatles? Like, I mean, if we're going on the same criteria, this is virtually the same conversation for me.
Mhm.
So, Dean, what thoughts have you? I want to hear what's going on in your brain regarding this. I don't want to hear all of the other stuff. But...
Oh, good. I was about to talk about your mom. Iron Maiden is. I honestly, like I've said in the past, I don't know a whole lot about Iron Maiden. I know their hits. I know what they sound like. It's not like I'm, I don't know, it's what they sound like at all. But I know the Rolling Stones. I know who they are, what they are, how they, their hits, even some of their deep tracks. I know their legacy. I know why they are, like Nick said, they're always put up against Rolling Stone or the Beatles. Given on that criteria, I think I got my pick, and I'm going to start out my vote with going with the Rolling Stones, boys.
Okay,
Brian.
Nick?
I don't know. I want Brian to go last.
Oh,
Go
you
ahead,
guys
because
figure it out.
So here's my conundrum, right? On one hand, you probably know which way I'm leaning because, like I said, this is basically the same conversation we just had. And if I'm grading this evenly, I'm certainly leaning towards Iron Maiden. However, I don't want this to become a thing to where it's like, well, because Brian and I tend to lean a certain way musically. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't want it to be
and in many other ways, trust me.
Sure. So, I don't know. That's my conundrum, is I don't want to make it... We tend to lean towards more, especially in that era of like the 80s and bands 80s and 90s metal and things like that, and certainly the way I was raised, and Brian grew up listening to this music and things like that, so we're a little bit partial. But if I'm going to be fair and I'm going to vote on the last round like I did, I don't know if you can hear my voice, but I feel genuine like burden and like kind of like I'm just like, man, burdened. Is this right or wrong? Like I feel like is this right or wrong?
Your shoulders
is this morally
have slumped down. We can't read your whole T-shirt anymore. You're slumped.
Ask me about. You know what? Don't ask me anything. Don't ask me to pick bands. Because I do appreciate the Rolling Stones. I really do. And I'm thinking about Paint It Black in my head right now, and I'm like, are you really going to buy? Are you about
That's
to
so
vote
awesome
against
that's my
the band that made this fucking song?
Right.
But at the same time, like, are you about to pick one band that is widely considered so great, and you are thinking of this one, and they have more than one great song. I'm just saying in my head right now, versus a band whose entire catalog you basically revere and love and think that they're just amazing and also great. And if I'm basing it off of the last round, which in the interest of fairness, I have to, because I can't consciously boot the Beatles and then flip-flop the way I'm grading things and pick the Stones. So I'm going to pick Iron Maiden. So, Brian, this burden is on you to pick.
Because I haven't... I picked the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Your Stones, I'm Maiden, and this is on you.
Yeah,
Brian?
the last round. I mean, the last round was like some people are like, how can you possibly pick Metallica over the Beatles? Yeah, both bands have achieved a high level of success and status in their own rights. Both the Beatles and Metallica could fill a stadium, and both those bands, later on, and Metallica to this day is still filling big, huge arenas. Now they're planning a stadium tour. Matter of fact, I'm talking, Nick, about going to Chicago, maybe to see them in Soldier Field next year. How about that? That's kind
cool.
of interesting. Yeah. So with Skinner, so that says something there, right? The bands have been around for 30 plus years or what have you. So, I enjoy both the Stones and Iron Maiden. Depends on my mood. I can sit down and enjoy both bands for a long time, which is something. But I talk about who is achieved at the end of the day. You talk about talent, you talk about library, you talk about influence. Between those two bands, who has achieved a higher level of status and overall success and just the larger influence? I have to edge the Stones in this particular matchup. So that's it. So Rolling Stones gets the edge for me over Iron Maiden.
There you go. Thank you for doing that. And it was
Sure.
I'm just happy whichever way it went, it wasn't up to me. So thank you very much for that.
Yep. Tough one though. Because
All right.
again, musically, it's you keep talking about this for a long time, but that's it. Yep.
Well, we are to the finals, and gentlemen, can I tell you that I had every confidence in the world because I'm like, well, the way this naturally will go will be. I thought the Stones would be here, but I thought it would be the Beatles and the Stones. So this is kind of interesting. This is definitely an interesting final matchup.
All right. Excuse me.
How many's left, Dean?
One matchup left. We're in the finals. That's it, right?
So, Rolling Stone, Iron Maiden, who won?
The Rolling Stones won because you and Brian both voted for the Stones.
All right. So, the finals, we have Metallica against Rolling Stones.
Wow.
I thought that's what it was, but I just wanted to double check because it seems silly. But
is that why you were choking? Because you
No, I was choking because I legitimately had something in my throat.
Mm.
All right, so Metallica against Rolling Stones. This is a... Would any of you guess that this would be the finals?
No, I thought it was going to be Stones and Beatles.
Yeah.
All right, well...
or maybe a Zeppelin creeps in or somebody, but Beatles and somebody. I mean, Stones.
I honestly thought
I can definitely
Queen
see,
end up being in the finals.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to argue real quick. Rolling Stones, Metallica. Excuse me.
Well, Dean, if I may, sorry, I know there's a lot to think about here.
By all means.
It's a lot to take in, right? So, it's not an easy decision.
It's not.
Right? Sometimes what's not an easy decision is if you want to get a tattoo, what do you get?
That's true.
Where do you go? Right? But this is one of the easiest decisions you can make here. It's a lot easier than Metallica versus the Rolling Stones, right? If you're in the Northeast Ohio area and you're looking to get a tattoo, I want you to go check out our sponsors, at Golden Heart Tattoo.
Partners?
I don't know. Partners, sponsor.
Trust me, Scotty is my partner.
Manager, I don't know. So check them out on Facebook at Golden Heart Tattoo. Give them a call at 234-706-2982 or find them on their website, goldenhearttattoos.com. They've done work on all of us. And actually, I did contact Scott today, as a matter of fact. I'm going to go in on May the 19th, I think it is, that Friday, and get more work. Sorry,
I'm going on Tuesday.
More work on that. Are you really?
To see Greg. Yep.
Nice.
There you go.
See?
Yeah. There you go. 2
out of 3 are going to get tattoos in the next couple weeks. So
that's right. That's right. So please continue.
Dean will be there before long as well, I'm sure.
That's right.
Well,
Rolling
if I wasn't so poor.
Oh, we don't pay for tattoos.
Oh, you do that thing with your mouth that they were. Oh, gotcha.
Greg and Scott just say how much they like us, and they would just give us free tattoos.
Yeah, it's the payment for the sponsorship of the show.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Mhm.
Nobody told you about that?
They actually charge me for walking by the shop. It's weird. This is strange.
All right, so who's going first here?
I'm going. Well, I already announced Metallica versus Rolling Stones.
Yes.
And by the looks in both y'all's eyes, I would like Brian to start this one out. Nick, you're ugly. Stop it.
No. I'm gonna get a tattoo of a nice face on top of my bad face. I'm gonna fix it. Greg, help me.
Yeah, this is tough here. I mean, it's man, Mick Jagger is one of the biggest presences in the overall in rock and roll history. I mean, it's if you think about like if people that barely know rock and roll music, if you see Mick Jagger, I think I know that guy. You know the logo. You understand who the Rolling Stones are. The average person probably knows at least a few Rolling Stones songs.
Look at like the average of like people going to the Rolling Stones concerts to like life. There's a majority of people that probably can say, "Oh, that guy, yeah, he fucked my mom."
That's probably
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Keith Richards did coke off of my grandma's ass crack. That's the thing that happened, probably. Yeah, there you go.
That was me, actually.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You and my grandma have the same wardrobe, so I didn't know. Same blouse type.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, so again, it's a tough one. It's the Rolling Stones have transcended. You talk about longevity. Those guys stayed together. The original lineup, for many years. They persevered. They continue to put out different types of music. It's a tough one. Yep. So
feel good about that one. I knocked that one out of the park.
Yep. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, man. Like it's one of those where
sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna compartmentalize this out loud here. Okay, vocals. I'm gonna give Mick Jagger the edge. Certainly, James Hetfield is a great vocalist for the type of music he's doing, but as far as vocal talent, let's say, I'm gonna go with Mick Jagger. Okay, who impresses me musically from a tactician standpoint as far as musicianship? Right, whole band, guitar, bass, drums, everything. Who musically impresses me more? Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who do I like more is tough because, again, I lean towards Metallica. I was certainly exposed to more of Metallica's music as a kid. The influence category, while they're both respectable and incredible and in their own rights have influenced tons and tons of bands. I'm going to say Rolling Stones probably has a more wide-reaching net for that.
Yeah.
Who would I rather listen to? Probably the majority of the time I'm more of in a Metallica place just because that's where I lean. But Rolling Stones, very good. If you're listening, like you said, easygoing, rock night. The legacy pick is certainly the Stones. It is a really close battle.
Mm-hmm.
As it should be.
As it should be. So I don't take this decision lightly. I'm not ready to cast my vote, but I want to hear Dean talk a little bit. So, Dean, you go.
All right. What both of you have said, just not now, but like for both bands throughout the last couple weeks, are very correct. Metallica holds a place in my heart because they, like I said in previous podcasts, they opened my eyes to music that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that opened up just a wide range of possibilities and music love. the Rolling Stones did the same thing.
Sure.
You know, growing up, my parents listened to country music and a little bit of like sprinkled rock and roll. I found rock and roll on my own, right? So the Rolling Stones I found on my own because my parents were not a fan. Or at least not that I know of. They didn't listen to them clearly. And when I found the Rolling Stones, and like Brian said earlier, Painted Black, Painted Black was like revolutionary for me. It is the first time that I was on the radio. We were I was a teenager and I was drunk. We're all sitting around the table and I was like, I want to hear Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. So I called in back then when you called in for requests. I called into the local radio station. I said, I want to hear Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. He goes, yeah, I can do that. Hold on, I can put you on there. I'm like, what? He goes, hold on. Ask the question again when I tell you to go. Next thing you know, and I've already hit record, right? Because I wanted to record Painted Black. So when he goes, Dean from Barberton, you're on the air. I'm like, can I hear Painted Black by the Rolling Stones? He goes, yeah, I can do that for you now. And then goes into it. So I have that recording of that.
Can I ask you guys a question? That's a
little did you know. Go ahead, sorry.
That's a really real great, like a little aside. I remember the first time I was on the radio requesting a song. Do you, Brian? Did you ever do that?
Was it Hanson?
No, but it's funny.
All right.
I'll tell you in a second, but I want to know if Brian remembers his.
I did. It was some rock song on the MMS or something like that in the 90s.
You don't remember what it was?
I bought the CD after understanding. I don't remember what I don't remember offhand now.
Is it 99 Left Balloons?
No.
99 secret balloon. Yeah. Mine was I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I called in and and I was like, I requested Electric Avenue. I was on the radio requesting Electric Avenue. It was like 9, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, all right, that was fun. All right, go ahead.
So, given on both my stories, it's time to vote. So we're gonna go over to Brian. Hey, I've said my piece. We said our piece for the past like 3 weeks. Come on.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Brian, it's your turn to vote.
What?
little did that young boy know, all the way back then, that he would someday be heard in India with a rambling story.
Actually, that boy actually assumed he'd be heard in India. Nowhere else, just India. He was a weird fella.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Voting time.
Yeah, that's
the finals. Metallica against Rolling Stones.
That's right. I happen to like the Stones more than the Beatles overall. I just think for several reasons. So it's awful hard. It's the Stones against. It's awful hard to. Okay, I'm going to vote visually. Are you ready? So if you're watching on YouTube, and I'll explain what I'm doing here in a second. Here is my vote, gentlemen. There we go.
The tongue says it all.
I'm holding up a Rolling Stones T-shirt for those only listening here. So, I just have to get the edge of the Stones. Just again, overall iconic status.
Fair.
We're talking about the greatest rock band of all time. Argument. There you go. Nick, what do you think?
All right. This is not easy. This is a gut decision. And if we're voting visually, get ready to see my testicles because I'm going to vote for the Stones.
Yes, please.
No, I'm just kidding. Rolling Stones. I'm sorry to take all of the theatrics out of it, but I have to vote for the Rolling Stones. It just feels what is right. I've argued it in my mind. I've told you out loud all the reasons for different each band, but I have to vote for the Rolling Stones. It just feels right. That is my gut feeling. I have to cast my vote for the Stones.
There you go.
Dean, what be your vote?
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Pass.
It doesn't matter anyways. But
it really doesn't.
Vote?
But
what is your vote?
Once again, Dean's a non-factor, but go ahead and tell us anyway. Story of my goddamn life. Actually, I was going to go with Metallica, simply based on the idea.
I wish I would have known that. We would have made that more climactic, and you could have gone.
Yeah, well, you're not good at this job, so
no, it's not a job. I don't get paid for it, so except in free tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
No, you get free tattoos, motherfucker.
All we want.
Jesus.
All we want.
He makes me do hands. Anyways, no, Metallica to me is more iconic. It meant more to me.
Okay.
I love the Rolling. I love both bands, but to me, Metallica, just what it did to me musically, mentally, Metallica would get the vote. So,
where did it do it to you mentally and musically? Can you show me on the doll where it did it to you? Or
it did it here.
Okay, all the good places then.
No, Metallica it opened my eyes to like hard shit that I wouldn't even have thought to look out. For. So, based on what the bands did to me in my musical life, I'm going Metallica. Hands down. But you both went Rolling Stones. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we do finally have the Battle Bracket band winner, and it is no surprise to many, the Rolling Stones.
There it is. The Stones for the win. There you go.
In fairness, if we were talking about the Stones versus the Beatles, I probably would have edged out the Stones just from a sheer enjoyment and everything else perspective. Just for the record,
Nick.
Yeah, but anyway,
what's that?
What would you have done? Rolling Stones, Beatles.
That's kind of one of those ones where, like, I feel like I would. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy the Rolling Stones more from what I've heard of both bands. So I probably would have picked the Rolling Stones. Would I say that the Beatles probably, like, when people talk about that, like when they have that debate, I always think of like the Beatles are 1A and the Stones are 1B. They're right there. But I feel like pop cultural pull, right? Like, it's like the Beatles, and then just a half a rung below, it's the Stones. Like, they're there,
See, I don't
but
think
like,
it's fair.
But they're different. They're different, like, as far as the style of music's different.
Because, like, to me, given on the surface, the Rolling Stones are the first and ultimate, like, arena band, like putting it out there. Just
the Stones are very out there. But blues to rock, right?
Beatles were like the fucking band that, like, did music and, like, tampered that shit and thought of different ways to change the music. Stones were like, fucking, this works. We are rich and let's put it out there and let's roll. But that's just my perception.
The Stones always to me seem more of like rooted in blues. Certainly, kind of in a lot of ways, created rock and roll as we think of it today. In a way of in the mainstream, as far as that lifestyle, as far as like you, Dean, I think mentioned it, like kind of arena rock, like that.
Yeah,
that whole thing. The Beatles almost seem like kind of a half step this way to where it was like, again, the Beatles always strike me from the outside, from an outsider of not really knowing a ton about them,
stuff
as more of like, they brought this sound to America, to North America, that we, you know what I mean? Like, they were doing shit that nobody over here was doing at the time. And they kind of brought it here, and they're seen more as kind of pioneers in a way of laying foundation, laying groundwork. So I'm not fucking with you guys. I will listen. I'm gonna put the Beatles on shuffle tomorrow because I kind of want to, like, this is kind of, like I said, the Beatles they're no indie band. It's not like I don't know who the fucking Beatles are, but like, I just have never understood. I've never really, like, on a personal level, understood what all the hype and fascination is, because when I hear the songs that I know of them, I'm like, this is fine, but it's or maybe you just had to be there for it, or you had to be there at that time and understand, or grow up with it and have that kind of connection to it. So I will listen, and I will give you updates
to their
when the
later
next episode.
stuff. Listen to their later stuff, and yes, it's fun to be on Jazz Cabbage for it, but don't listen to it going, let's listen to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, that type of beat music.
Right.
Their later stuff is very psychedelic. Listen to it in that vein, knowing that, like, they were fucked up when they wrote
that
this.
era, right?
And also go, wow, they were fucked up when they wrote this. You know what I mean? It's both sides of that. So
okay,
good shit.
Very good debate, gentlemen. Although stupid not to have Black Sabbath on our part, but that's okay.
We went to officially apologize to Ozzy Osbourne and everybody part of Black Sabbath.
Yeah, Tony, it's dumb on our part, but yeah,
Sorry,
we should have been in the argument. Yeah, but that's okay.
Dumbasses.
Yeah.
Again, the fucking name of the show's Convincing Idiots. So
right.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with our opinion, well, just know what you're listening to. And also, actually, I mean, I think you've said it before, Dean, but like, anybody that's out there listening that would like to comment on any of our social media accounts, let us know who we missed. Let us know who, even if it's not like through a battle of the bands format, who's your favorite band of all time? Who do you think is the most, if you were doing your own, who would win your battle of the bands?
Right.
Yeah.
If you're listening this deep into the podcast 3 hours later, you definitely are hardcore enough and appreciate this enough, which we endlessly thank you. But you can at least comment who your favorite band is. So please do that wherever you may.
That's right, Brian. And thank you. I'm sorry. We had a few comments on some YouTube videos and shorts and stuff like that, to where people may or may not have agreed with us. Some have commented on who their favorite bands are, and thank you. We appreciate we agree, disagree. Taking a second to listen and comment, we appreciate it. Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys don't.
So I think all things. I think Nick should go out as maybe
Mick Jagger,
Udo from Accept or something like that. What do you think about that?
Udo from Accept? What?
Yeah, you know who that is?
No.
That's okay.
So it's not going to work because I don't know who it is either.
I'm sure you can do a British accent and closely get to Mick Jagger.
So I realized
he's the lead singer. He's the lead singer of Accept. You ever hear the song "Balls to the Wall"?
Oh, you get your balls to the wall, man. That one.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, get your balls to the wall. Yes.
Yeah, maybe go out as you do whatever you want. Maybe Mick Jagger or somebody like the British guy. That would be a
British. All right. Well, I kind of already did that, right? Because when I was like, so a lot of people. I'm Mick Jagger here, right?
Is it Jimmy Page?
A lot of people. No. That's a very common misconception, mate. A lot of people, when I do this, and I start talking like I do, and I get real into it, a lot of people think that, it's Jimmy Page. It's Jimmy Page, right? No, mate, it's not fucking Jimmy Page, or it's Mick Jagger from the Rolling Goddamn Stones, right? Don't you know me? I'm one of the greatest bands of all time, the Rolling fucking Stones, baby. That's right. I like to shimmy and I like to shake it up, right? I like to do a little wiggle, give you a little hip shake like that, right? A lot of people think that. But now, these days, when I talk to them like that, and I give them that little shimmy, they know. They don't just know because I'm in the Rolling Stones, right, mate? They know because I won the Convincing Idiots Battle of the Band. That's right. I'm one of the greatest frontmen of all time. I got one of the greatest guitar players of all time, and one of the most iconic logos. It looked like that. You see that? It looked like that. That's our logo, right, mate? Yes, that's right. It's a tongue.
All right.
So, without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about the podcast that put me on, right? The podcast that put my music out to the generations. They all know who the Rolling Stones are. because they want to convince an idiot's battle bracket. So, don't waste your time, mate. Get out there. I want you to get on all the social media accounts. I want you to like, subscribe, rate, review, yeah? All of that stuff. Go to that Convincing Idiots link tree, LINKTREE, and then give them a little shoulder shake, give them a little like, give them a little subscribe, give them a little hip shimmy, all of that shit, yeah? All right, and then you're going to head on over to their website. That's convincingidiots.wordpress.com. And from there, you can follow all of those same links, right? You're going to buy their merchandise. You're going to wear their awesome merchandise to our shows. And then you're going to go over there. You're going to give them your money, right? You're going to join their fan club. That's right. It's not enough to be a Rolling Stones top fan. You got to be a Convincing Idiot top fan. You're going to like, you're going to subscribe, rate, review. So, for this episode of Convincing Idiots and Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones, mate, I am your millennial Mick Jagger.
Daniel Dean.
Gen X Brian.
Have we convinced you to pump up the jams and rock? Hey there, if you like that video, or if you just like to watch us make fools of ourselves, please like and subscribe to this channel. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you back here.
Ham gravy.
You little cherub some bitch.
My little cherub. Look at it. Look at the little rose. Look at it. I want to get a little bit of rose in there, and maybe little baby titties coming on in my face. Come on, bring it up.
Talk to
So I
me
can
like
give it a
this,
little
bro.
lick back and forth.
Oh, baby, I lick you front to back and back to front all the way.
I'm gonna be like a human toilet paper for your ass. They call me human Thurman.